G'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, g'day curd nerds. Well, g'day curd nerds. Well, g'day curd nerds. Well, g'day curd nerds. And there we are. Hopefully everything's working by the looks of it. That would be fantastic. Well, welcome one and all. G'day curd nerds, and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, episode 165. It's lovely to see you all here today. I'm Gavin Weber, and I'm the host of the show. And we will be talking about all things cheesy. We are now live on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook is streaming on my Facebook page, Little Green Cheese, for those who wanted to go and check it out there. But all the action's really on YouTube. And you can go to my YouTube live page. It's on the channel page, and you'll be able to see that. Anyway, very cool. Let's say g'day to a few people. I've got a few people here, which is absolutely fantastic. G'day to Monique. She was the early bird today over on YouTube. Marcel from Cape Town in South Africa. Ruth, g'day Ruth. Lovely to see you again after all this time. But you can't stay by the looks of it. So see you, Ruth. But thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Philip, g'day Philip. Lovely to see you. Patricia, lovely to see you as always. World's worst chess player. G'day, mate. Hopefully that's not the truth. Judy Mack, g'day, Judy. Lovely to see you. Martin from Scotland. Lovely to see you, Martin. Ambrose from Wales. G'day, Ambrose. Lovely to see you. And Bob and Barb. G'day, Bob. I think Bob. Yeah, Bob's there. G'day, Bob. I think I've got a picture of yours in the gallery today, which will be at 8:30. Got Paul. We've got Zed. G'day, Zed. Buzzy, who else? Muhammad, we've got Fled Nanders, nice like that. FlyToSky Travel, g'day mate, how are you? Who else we got? Neuro, I think that's how you say it. We've got Donna on Facebook, Peter on Facebook. We've got John F Music, g'day mate, how are you? We've got Laurie, Cease, g'day Cease. We've got Channing. Who else? We got Anna. Hello, Anna Marie, over on Facebook. Lovely to see you. We got Rachel over on Facebook as well. John K, Donna, and Shlomo. Newf Dog. God, we got everybody. Michael. Lovely to see everybody. I'll stop right there, but we'll get to some questions as we go along. Now, the video this week, I've got Appenzella in post-production. So I'll be working on that. I've got to film just the intro, outro bit and the taste test. So that'll be good. That's looking pretty good. And I'm also working today on a list of cheeses you should make in 2021. Hopefully we're not too far into the month to do that, but I think it's okay. Also, I've had to postpone my cheese making because, we got a super chat already. I think it's from Ruth. Thank you, Ruth, for your kind super chat, and we will get to that in a sec, so that'll be cool. Sorry, I've had to postpone my cheese making this week to Tuesday because we're having a heat wave at the moment. Not so bad here in Melton, where we live, but so I think it's going to be 35 Celsius today and 40 tomorrow, maybe 41. So too hot to make cheese. Even in an air-conditioned room, it'll probably be sitting at about 30 degrees Celsius, especially for the cheeses that I want to make, some hard cheeses. So no, they don't go so well when it's hot. So I'll postpone that till Tuesday when a cool change is supposed to come through. Good thing is that Tuesday is our national day here in Australia. So yeah, I've got a day off, so we'll do that. I've also got a day off tomorrow, which is good because we decided to do that. Small business owners, we can do that sort of thing. But I think I'll be working all day restocking cheese making equipment and soap and candle stuff we normally do as well over at Little Green Workshops. Anyway, let's get on with the questions. And we'll get to Ruth's super chat first, and then we'll kind of go back. So Ruth has a question, says, my raclette came out with weird texture, not exactly spongy, but kind of like dense bread, very airy. Why is that? Thanks, Gavin. Bye, everybody. See you next time. Yeah, sounds like a bit of a strange one, Ruth. My first my first thought would be, and usually you use pretty good milk from the stuff that I've seen from you. So I don't know if you decided to use raw milk in this instance, because the only time I've seen stuff spongy, I've seen curd spongy like that after it's matured. There was one cheese that I made, I think it was called Leyden, which was a Cumin cheese from the Netherlands, but it did turn out, it didn't have holes in it or anything, but it just felt spongy. I've had that before. I could not figure out what was wrong with it. It wasn't infected or anything. It was tasty enough. So yeah, it seemed to be okay. So really don't really have an answer for you, Ruth. No, I'll have to do some research, and I'll send you an email back. So Ruth, spongy. Well, it's dense. Yeah, it's not. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'll try and figure out what it is. Anyway, I hope that helps. All right, so back to the questions on the list. Okay, let's have a look. Zed says, hi, Gavin. I really appreciate your channel and just love it. Thanks, mate. Thank you for continuing to keep this going. That's okay. It's a passion. I love it. But yeah, thanks. Fled says, Gavin, what's your favorite milk to use for cheese? The favorite milk I can get my hands on is a local dairy near, it's a town called Dunstown, which is about an hour's drive from here, near Ballarat. Little dairy called Inglenook Dairy. So they do a fantastic unhomogenized cow's milk, which is high in fat, higher than the actual label, and it works really well. So yeah, that's the kind of milk I use. But I do prefer pasteurized, unhomogenized, and I don't get too many surprises. Sets a good curd every time. But yeah, that's good. Okay. Next question is from FlyToSky Travel. Says, hi, Gavin. I'm Amir. G'day, Amir. From Egypt. How can I get a beautiful rind like Comté? Is 9 degrees Celsius is suitable for all the cheeses? What is the most delicious and nutty cheese? Jack, Reblochon, Tom, Comté, Port Salut. Okay, there's about 5 questions there. Can I get a beautiful rind like Comté? Yeah, you can. Just naturally age it, and you should get a nice rind like that. 9 degrees suitable for all the cheeses. A little bit on the cold side. Usually 13 is probably the best, mate. But you could use that and not have too many problems. What's the most delicious and nutty cheeses? Well, if you're going for nutty style cheeses, ones that taste like that, best ones are the Alpine style cheeses. So the ones around the French Alps, Swiss Alps style, Italian Alps as well. Some lovely nutty cheeses. And give Emmentaler a try. That's very, very good. Okay, I thought somebody at the door. Emmentaler is probably one of the best. So yeah, that's a pretty good cheese. So give those, if you're looking for delicious and nutty cheeses, that's the style. Okay. Okay, next question is from World's Worst Chess Player. Says, you are the man I need. I have made an Alpine style cheese where the rind has cracked and its veins of blue mold running through it. I didn't add a mold starter. Should I be worried? Only if you didn't intend to make a blue cheese, because now that's what it's going to be. It'll probably taste pretty good as well, but what you could have done is if you started to see that crack happen and before the mold invaded, then it was probably best to either wax or vacuum pack that cheese for maturation. Then it probably wouldn't have got infected. Now it's got molds in the cracks. Then yeah, there's no way of getting it out at all. You could dampen off the mold growth by either vacuum packing or waxing it now, and that probably would help any further mold development, but you're still going to have that classic Penicillium roquefort 40 flavor through the cheese. There's no getting around that, unfortunately. Hope that helps. Philip has a question. Says, hi Gavin, I'm in the process of setting up a cheese fridge with external temperature and humidity control. What temp and humidity should I set for aging cheddar, Gouda, Romano, all the waxed? Really don't need to worry too much about the humidity because it's waxed. I don't tend to worry about humidity in my cheese fridge because I use ripening boxes to achieve that sort of humidity, so there's no problems there. Temperature between 11 and 13 is the best for maturing cheese. The lactic bacteria are just active enough to slowly age those cheeses, but you certainly don't want anything higher because you'll get a runaway bacteria growth and you'll get all sorts of funky things happening with cheese, and they just won't taste how you want them to. So hope that helps. From Neuro Transmission says, hey Gavin, thanks for all your awesome videos. They've been super helpful in my venture into cheese making. Well, I'm glad to be of service. Okay. This one's from Peter over on Facebook. It says, hi Gavin. Oh, hi from Canada. The whole of Canada's saying hello. Hello, Canada. That's lovely. I'm being interviewed on CBC radio tomorrow about home cheese making. May I drop your name as an internet reference for newcomers, sorry, if that's okay. No problems whatsoever. Yep, drop my name. I like a good name drop. Don't forget to mention the channel, and that'll help beginners get into the wonderful world of cheese making. So, yeah, that'll be spot on. So no problems there whatsoever. Okay. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. Question from John. John says, hi, Gavin. I hope this isn't a dumb question. Mate, there's no dumb questions on this channel or this show. There's only questions that you don't know the answer for, and I'm hopefully be able to answer it for you. It says, my wax cheeses often develop mold under the wax. Ooh. Can I age the cheese via vacuum sealing, or is that only for longer storage after waxed aging? Yeah, no, you can. Sorry, yeah, no, that's an Australian thing. Yes, you can use vacuum packing for long age storing in lieu of waxing. Now, there's a caveat to that. If you're trying to make a Swiss style cheese with eyes, then if you vacuum pack it before the eye development, then you will run into issues. It won't expand due to the difference in atmospheric pressure between the vacuum packed cheese and the outside air. It won't grow the holes properly. So that's the only caveat. All other cheese is fair game. Fresh cheese is probably not so much, but semi-hard cheeses, vacuum pack them whenever you think is a good thing. If you've got a nice rind developed, then get into that. Also, another way to prevent any mold from getting under waxes is to make sure that before you wax the cheese, and we've got another super chat there, and we'll get into that in a second, Patricia. We'll show that in a sec. Is to use a underwax before you wax it. Wash it over with a simple brine solution with some vinegar. Just quickly do that. Pat it off with a towel, and then make sure you dip it in the wax. Now, make sure the wax is at least 75 degrees Celsius, and that should kill any mold spores that may be on the cheese as well. One other suggestion, there is a mold inhibitor coating that you can put on, niacin, something like that. It's just a PVC cheese coating. It's just called cheese coating. You can go on Amazon or something like that, and you'll be able to see it. So hopefully that answers your question. And we do have the super chat. Let's go down and have a look at that. And that's from Patricia. Thank you, Patricia, for your $5 Canadian. Says, pretty please ask Peter Evans which CBC radio show is doing the interview. I'd love to hear it, seeing she's in Canada as well. It'd be good to get the link too, Peter. Just pop that onto the Facebook page or what have you. And once it's up there, surely they'll have a snippet of the show or a live link or something like that. Okay, thanks, Patricia. Appreciate the super chat. When Peter does put it up there, I will get to it. Okay, let's get back to where I was. Who was the person? Sorry, just lost my spot there for a second. Oh, okay, that was John's question. Cool. Laurie says, do you ever make a party cheese ball with wine and nuts? That's a great question as well. Yes, I have. In fact, if Kim can find the link, I don't know if she's having any troubles with links because I haven't seen any links at the moment. But yeah, if you can find the cheese ball video, Kim, then pop that up. That will be lovely if you can. Unless YouTube's having some issues with links on the page for moderators. Anyway, yes, there is. If Kim can't put the link up, Laurie, then go and have a search on the channel. If you go to the channel page, there's a little search option there. Just put in cheese ball. You'll find the video, no problems. Great little recipe made from homemade cream cheese as well. Okay, this one's from Channing. Says, "Hey Gav, what would you say would be the easiest cheese for the first-time cheesemaker? I've never made any cheese, but your videos are so inspiring." I'd start out with something simple like ricotta, of course, very simple to make. Also, I would make. Kim says, "Sorry, cannot get the links today. YouTube is playing up." Let's see if I can do a link. This may be a bit of a pain at the bottom. Let's have a look. Let's go to my channel. Cheese ball. Okay. Is it going to give me the link? Is it going to let me paste anything in there? Yeah, okay. So I can do links, but Kim can't. So that's weird. So if I ask for links, then they'll be very slow. So yeah, sorry. One of the easiest cheeses. Hang on, I'll just beginner's cheese. Let's have a look. Do I have a list? Yes, I do. Let's get the link for that. So beginner's cheese, yep. Here we go. All right, so there's the link to that. Hopefully that'll work. We've got another super chat, so let's just kill the light to stop anybody from freaking out. So this is from Sam. Thank you, Sam, for your super chat. Appreciate it. £5. That's a fortune here in Australian dollars. Okay, says, I recently brined a reblochon which contains bee linens. Should I boil my brine before subsequently reusing for a non-bee linens cheese? Yes, you should. So it's called, you're pasteurizing the brine. That's basically what you're doing. So yeah, you can boil it. There's no hassle with that at all. Sam, I just boil it for about 5 minutes before I even make the cheese. So I'll boil the brine that's been sitting in the cheese cave because sometimes it even grows funky molds on top of the brine. So I'll scrape them off, put them down the sink, boil the brine. And it may smell a bit, the brine, but that's okay. Once you've boiled it, there's not going to be anything living in it anymore, no bacteria. So you should be good to go. And let it cool down before you put your cheese in. If you put cheese into hot brine, then that is terrible. It won't work at all. Got another super chat there. This one's from Ben. Let's have a look. Thank you, Ben, for your £5 super chat. Appreciate it. Ben says, I've made a few cheeses, but they always turn out bitter after tasting. Do I have any advice? Yes, indeed. There's a few things that make cheese bitter. First is lack of salt. So if you're making a semi-hard cheese, which it sounds like you are because you're aging it, then make sure it's at least 2% salt by weight of the curd. So once you finish draining the curds, before you put it into the press, weigh the curd mass, and then figure out how much salt you're going to put into it. So it's between 2 and 2.7% is what you need if you're going to mill salt into the cheese. If you've been brining cheeses, then brine them longer, and that usually stops most bitter tasting from the cheese. So that is what I highly recommend. Another thing that can cause bittering is too much rennet. But if you're using vegetable rennet, it's not so much of an issue. Animal rennet is worse. If you add too much calcium chloride as well, if you're adding that to the milk, then that can cause a little bit of bittering as well, but not too bad. Lack of salt is usually the issue. Okay, we've got another super chat there. This is fantastic. Thank you very much. This is from Paul. Thank you, Paul, for your super chat. Your super chat says, hi, Gavin. My first Gruyere had no top or bottom rind due to condensation. Maybe need more drying time before aging. It looked good, but the taste was bad. Trying again soon. What was the problem from... But was the problem from moisture or something else? I can think of an issue. I had this happen to me once before as well. And it was that I didn't press the cheese long enough. So subsequently there was far too much whey in the cheese, and there was it just kept weeping all the time. It was a hard cheese too, similar to Gruyere. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, and it failed to develop a rind top and bottom, and yeah, I don't know if I think it tasted okay. I don't know if it was tasted bad, but yeah, it was a bit of an issue. But more pressing to make sure that some more of the whey has been extruded from the curds, and a little bit more air drying. So make sure that it is definitely dry. So when you touch it, there's a method. It's just, if it feels like a clammy handshake, like a little bit tacky on top, then it's okay. Don't let it dry out completely, because that's when cheeses like that, hard cheeses like that, tend to crack before you put them into wax, especially if you're trying to do a natural rind like a Gruyere. Then anyway, there's some suggestions. I hope they help, mate. Okay. It looks like my links are working, but Kim's is not, as we've already mentioned. Now, let's get back to some of the questions. Okay, I'm way out. Anyway, no, I've missed heaps. Where are we? Bob says, Gavin, I seem to keep having the same reoccurring symptom in my cheese making. They seem to come out more on the crumbly side. What am I doing wrong? Too much rennet. It depends on the type of milk you're using, Bob. If you're using raw milk and adding in starter culture, then if you use too much starter culture, that'll tend to over acidify the cheese and make it crumbly. So that's one symptom, because you haven't said what sort of milk you're using. Also, if you add too much rennet, that will be an issue as well. So probably best to try the flocculation method. There's a link on my blog. You can go to Little Green Cheese, go and check that out. Look for flocculation and you'll see what to do there, because you don't want to cut the curds too late. You don't want to cut them too early. So flocculation really helps you out for the different types of cheese. Too much rennet, yes, is a symptom as well of too much of a crumbly. And too much stirring, too high an acidity is usually the problem for crumbly cheese. So check out some of those symptoms. I hope they help. Okay. Martin says that most cheeses I make mature between 12 and 13 Celsius. If I do a brie, is it okay to temperature set the cave to a lower temperature for the relatively short period of maturing brie? What other effects on the other cheeses? Does it just slow maturation? Yeah, it does slow maturation. It won't have any. The other cheeses in the cheese fridge, there'll be no issues, no big deal. So yeah, you can set it 8 for the 10 to 15 days that it takes to get the white mold on the brie. Yeah, you certainly don't want the starter cultures in the brie getting out of control and causing it to go super runny too early. So the lower temperature, the better. So yeah, good one, Martin. Nice. Okay. Ambrose says, I've had some rennet in tablet form I've forgotten about, and it's over a year old. Would it still be okay to use? It would be okay to use, Ambrose, if you have kept it in the freezer. If it's been kept in the freezer, there won't be any issues at all. So I've used rennet tablets that are like 2-3 years old. As long as they're still in their blister pack, they haven't been exposed to the freezer, the air in the freezer, and gone all yucky. If they're solid, they've been in the freezer, they're still in their blister pack, they should work okay. You could test one, just break off a quarter of the tablet, put it and dilute it a little bit, put it in quarter of a cup of milk, and then it should set fairly quickly. But yeah, that's the best way to try it. Make sure the milk's warm, of course. It helps set rennet anyway. Okay. Next question is from there's one from Fled. Says, Gavin, if you could make cheese out of any milk that isn't a normal one to use, what animal would you use? Could be any animal that produces it. Look, I'd love to get my hands on some buffalo milk, and I'm pretty sure that somewhere here in Melbourne, I can't remember, one of those cheese making companies up the north of Melbourne, I'd love to make some buffalo milk cheeses. I know that that is normal in Italy, but not so normal here in Australia, that there's herds of buffaloes roaming, and we're not talking about bison, we're talking about water buffaloes. I'd really like to use that milk, but I'm pretty sure I could probably get some if I really put my mind to it. Anyway, great question. Thanks, mate. Question, probably more of a statement from Zed. Says, Ruth, check out Alton Brown's episode of For Whom the Cheese Melts on his show, Good Eats Reloaded. That might answer your question. So there's a helpful hint there. Laurie says, what is M4000 culture? M4000 is, if I can go to my website, I'll tell you exactly what's in it. Cheese making, we want cultures, and it has 4 starter cultures in it, which I'll read out to you in a second. Let me just make that big, and let's see if I can turn on the screen sharing, and hopefully this will work. Okay, so if it didn't work, no big deal. But yeah, so it's It's a culture. Oh, there's the gallery photos. We'll check those out in a minute. So it's by Choose It, Danisco Choose It. It has 4 cultures in it, MA 4000 series. It has Lactococcus lactis subspecies lactis, Lactococcus lactis subspecies cremoris, Lactococcus lactis subspecies lactis biovar diacetylitis, diacetylactis, goodness me, and Streptococcus thermophilus. So it's got 1, 2 mesophilic starter cultures in it. It's also got the third one's a mesophilic starter culture, and the last one is a thermophilic starter culture. So, yeah, so very good. It's used mainly for sorry, where's the camera? It's used mainly for farmhouse English or American style cheeses. So like Colby, cheddars, all the UK cheddary style cheeses, and yeah, it seems to work fairly good. All right, so let's have a look at, let's hide the question. Hopefully all that worked. I didn't even get to see it on the replay, but if you just saw my face, that's perfectly good. Okay, time for the gallery. Let's make sure this definitely works. Just pull that down and go to the gallery page. There we are. Let's wait the mandatory 5 or 6 seconds to see if it actually works. It's coming. I'm sure it is. Yay, it's working. All right, so the gallery this week. Thank you, everybody who sent in pictures for the gallery. This one's from Rachel Messam, who I think is in the chat over on Facebook. So this is Campanzola, which has a lovely white coating of mold, as you can see there. Absolutely fantastic. A little tall, but I think it'll turn out fairly well. The next one is her first attempt at Gorgonzola. It hasn't grown any mold yet, but a nice weight, 1.2 kilos. And that'll be a most excellent cheese, which I've actually put on my list. I'll talk about that in a minute. I've got a list of cheeses that I'm going to make in the first few months. This one's from Robert Kennel, who I believe goes under the moniker of Bob over there on the YouTubes. And he's made a blue, and it's called Blue by You. I'm pretty sure it's from cheesemaking.com. The recipe, I'll see, can I make that a little bit bigger? Let's have a look here. There we go. That's a bit better. So he said he had to scrape the mold off of the outside of the cheese. So he did a good job there. And there's another picture of the same cheese. There it is on a cracker. Let's make that a bit bigger too. There we go. That looks absolutely lovely. Look at the marbling through the vein. Look at the veins, sorry, the blue veins. And from all reports from Bob, it was delicious. So absolutely fantastic. Well, that's all the photos we've got for the gallery this week. Let's get back to my head again. There we are. So they're the gallery pictures. They are nice cheeses. As always, if you want to send me a picture to the gallery, go to the About page of the channel, and there is a Contact Me little button thing. You'll have to prove that you're not a robot, and then you'll get revealed the email in which to send me the gallery pictures. So that's probably the best way to do it. So send them through if you've made some amazing cheeses or not so amazing cheeses. It doesn't matter. I can help diagnose what went wrong. So yeah, you can send those through. That would be absolutely fantastic. Okay. Patricia's got a question, says, Gav, any progress on doing international shipping from Little Green Workshops? None so far, Patricia. We've actually closed our borders again in Victoria due to COVID, and that's having some major delays with post again. So, you know, I think until everybody's vaccinated and things start to go back to some sort of normal as far as the pandemic goes, that's when we'll start shipping again. We're having some issues with the UK and EU. They've got new taxation laws out, and apparently I'm supposed to collect tax sales tax for those countries and send them to each individual country. Sorry, not company. This makes it very difficult for us to ship overseas. So yeah, there will be duties and taxes and all sorts of stuff. Now, if I can't collect them, I think there may be an alternative that the user, when the customer, when they get the products, have to pay the sales tax themselves, and they also then, because I didn't collect the sales tax, also have to pay a customs duty as well, which is even worse. It's pretty bad for people in the UK because of Brexit. It makes it even harder to get stuff over there. So Kim and I are umming and ahhing whether we're going to actually start international shipping, certainly to Europe and UK. We may select a few simple countries. I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll make a decision once all this pandemic craziness is finished. But thanks, Patricia. I appreciate it for asking the question anyway. Kevin said he made Jim Wallace's Monk's cheese, which is Tête de Moine, I think is how you pronounce it. Smells like very dirty socks, but taste is superb. Yes, I can attest to that. It does smell a little bit, and the taste is lovely, especially when you shave it into those little florets using the girole, which is pretty cool. If you saw the recent video, you would have seen it. Okay, question from Marcel says, when you leave the Petite Blue for 24 to 48 hours, do you still turn them every now and then? What room temperature is best to rest cheese at? So, okay, cool question. Marcel, when I say room temperature, it's usually about 21 degrees Celsius. That's the standard room temperature, I suppose. Very hard to achieve that, but around that temperature is fine, okay? For any hotter than that, then the cheese will start to seep or weep fats in the form of oils on the outside of the cheese, so it's not very good. So yeah, just turn them when you during that 24, 48 hours, turn them every so often. Every 6 hours will be fine. Helps them dry out as well. So yeah, do that. Kevin says, Gavin, are you going to try tellagio? And if so, what culture would you use, as the recipe calls for Bulgarian yogurt and no other culture? My goodness me. Yes, I am going to try tellagio. It needs to be something that has a buttery flavor, because I know proper tellagio it tastes a little bit buttery as well as a washed rind. It is actually made with raw cow's milk, so it might be very hard to replicate. I think something something that makes it buttery, probably MA4000, assuming we just talked about that one, would probably be best to make for the tellagio, and then the addition of bee linens, of course. So that's what I would use. Let me have a look. Next question is, can you mature in a normal fridge? Thanks, Jago, for that question. Yes, some cheeses you certainly can. Go and check out a cheese on the channel called Bel Paese. Bel Paese is an Italian-style cheese. It is very delicious and matures in the kitchen fridge, and you'll be so surprised. It'll be lovely. Okay. So, all right. So that was my gallery reminder again. We don't want that. Kevin from who's on Facebook says, no questions, but watching from Indianapolis, US, relatively new to this. I have your kafili recipe in the press right now. Well done, Kevin. Hopefully it all turns out. Don't forget to salt it lots. It loves salt. And it's a great little cheese. Just make sure that if it starts to grow any mold on it, which it tends to during the 3 weeks aging, then just wipe it off with a simple brine solution. You shouldn't have any issues there at all. There's a statement or a question from Jason. Says, I have some 7-day-old triple creams that look like they're coming along nicely, but have stunk up the whole cheese cave. with the smell of rotting cabbage. Is this normal or do I have a problem? No, the Penicillium candidum does tend to make ammonia smells if they don't get enough oxygen. So make sure that when it's getting pretty close to the end of it anyway, because they should start to have a white mold growth on them by now, that's for sure. But yeah, they will smell like ammonia-ish cooked cabbage smell. So I don't think there'll be too many issues, but make sure you at least open the lid of the ripening box so there's a little bit of airflow every day when you turn them. So that's my advice. Okay. Patricia has said, hit the thumbs up button. That would be fantastic. I got 50 likes, which is pretty good. If you like it, over on YouTube, on YouTube. Love the show. Thank you very much, Patricia. I really appreciate it. And thanks for your support over the years via your YouTube membership there, Patricia. Okay. Peter, who's talking about the radio show, says, I'm not sure yet, but when I'm given the details, I'll post it to you and also to the Learn to Make Cheese Facebook page that is based out of British Columbia in Canada. Yeah, great place to post it. That'll be great, Peter. And then I can share that via the community tab. So anybody who has a mobile device, which most people do these days, if you use the YouTube app on there, you actually get a little feed. So when I do post stuff on the community tab, it actually comes up in the feed. A lot of people read that stuff that I put in there. I do put regular updates in the community tab of the feed. Okay. Next question, keeping it along. Shlomo says, Gavin, how long can you keep Rennet in the fridge? I think that's what you're saying there, mate, but I can tell that English is not your first language, but that is fine. Yes, you can keep rennet in the fridge for quite a while. I've used rennet, well, vegetable rennet anyway, fermented Cheeseman, at least a year past the best before date on the rennet, and it works fine. Well, it has in my case anyway. So keep it in the fridge to prolong its life. So that works. Buzzy says, can you make a revisited parmesan recipe? The old one has me confused. There's actually two recipes on the YouTube channel. One from a long, long time ago when I first started the channel. That was fairly popular in the beginning. I don't use that recipe. There is a very good parmesan recipe. Let me see if I can find it on the channel. Parmesan, come on, Parmesan, come up. That one, yeah, that looks like the one. So in the YouTube chat, I've just put the link to the Parmesan for those who are watching. So yeah, so that is the good recipe if you want to use that one, and that should be fine, Buzzy. Okay. Next question is, we've already talked about bitter cheeses. We've already done that one. Chris says, how do I make cheddar cheese? Go and have a look at the cheddar cheese video on the channel. You go and search for it. There won't be any problems finding that. Here's a question from Jelena. I think that's how you say it. Sorry if I've mucked that up. My 10-day-old Havarti is yellow and slimy with a strong smell and a little bit of white mold. What should I do? Wash it off with a simple brine solution. Should be fine. Simple brine solution is basically a cup of boiled water that is being cooled down, or non-chlorinated water, anything like that. Add in 2 tablespoons of salt and give that a good stir till it's all dissolved, and then with a soft cloth, then just wipe it over, or you can use your hands. Just pour the brine solution on the cheese and just use your hands and wipe it all off. And that'll get rid of the mold. That'll get rid of the smell, get rid of the tackiness. It's a little bit tacky. Havarti tends to be like that when it's maturing. So just keep washing it, and you shouldn't have too many problems at all. Okay. Philip has a question for one more question. In your Romano videos, it says use vegetable rennet. Can I use animal rennet? Does it have to be vegetable? No, it can be any sort of liquid rennet there, mate. Only reason I use vegetable rennet is because that's what I've got. And that's what a lot of people buy. Animal rennet tends to be more perishable than the fermented vegetable rennets. That's the only reason. So no, if you've got animal rennet, you go for it, Philip. Good question from John. It says, thanks for the info, Gavin. I think that's because I answered a question before. Does it matter whether calcium chloride is added before or after the culture? Various recipes disagree. It doesn't matter. As long as, if you're using heat-treated milk, anything that's been pasteurized, it's always best to add calcium chloride, as you know, as long as you add it before the rennet. So it doesn't matter. If the recipe says add it before you heat the milk, then add it. It's no big deal. As long as it's, and in some of my recipes, in fact, the vast majority now, I add it just before adding the rennet solution. So as long as it's in the milk, it just gives the rennet some more soluble calcium to bind those protein molecules to make the curd. That's all it's for, because in pasteurization, some of the calcium is destroyed during pasteurization. That's why they add more calcium back into those fancy milks that you buy in the supermarket. Okay, they're just adding stuff in that was destroyed during pasteurization. I have a question here. Trent says, I love Merlot soaked cheese. Is there a beer soaked cheese or soda? Soda. Yes, there is a beer soaked cheese. On the channel, there is a recipe for stout infused cheddar. You can find that. You go and buy the About page and go on a bit of a search. Sorry, on the channel page, and do a bit of a search. I don't think you'll have too many problems there, Trent. Let's have a look. Question from Chris says, when do I need to add the peppers to my cheese to make? And you haven't got any more question. Is there any more? I'm scrolling down a bit. Nope, that's it. I think you mean if you're going to make pepper jack, you add the peppers or chilies to the curds just before you put them into the mold. That's when you do it. Now, what's the time? We've got 13 minutes to go. I know I'm way behind on the questions, and if I've missed your question, then there's one way to get my attention very quickly, and that's to a super chat. But no obligation whatsoever, but I'm not going to get to all the questions, I can tell. Okay. Stick says, what difference would it make using higher fat content milks like Jersey, and can you simulate this by adding cream or butter? The difference is a richer cheese and more yield for sure, using higher fat, higher protein milks like Jersey milk. And can you don't add butter to your milk? Never add butter. The fat's just not soluble. It just floats on the top. You can add cream. Just make sure it's pure cream with no gelatin or thickeners or what's it called? Carrageenan. That's a gel sort of substance they thicken cream with. Just got to be pure cream, not ultra high temperature or anything pasteurized or anything like that. Just cream, and you can add that at a ratio of about 3%. So 3% of the total milk, you can add 3% cream, and that'll make a little bit higher in fat content and protein content. And yeah, you should be fine. And it'll make a richer cheese indeed. Okay. Let's have a look. Is there another question? I'm sure there is. A correction to the gallery from Rachel says that the second one from me in the gallery was a white Stilton after rubbing it down. Okay, so it wasn't a Gorgonzola, it was a Stilton. white Stilton. So this is why I didn't have any mold growth. There you go. Well done, Rachel. I hope it tastes all right. Should be a very nice looking cheese. There we go. Here's a question from Salman. Says, hi, I want to start a small cheese business specialized in making one cheese. Well done. Okay. Which one do you recommend is operationally the easiest to do? Ideally one that can go with burgers. Okay, so you want to make a cheese for burgers. Right, the best one to do is make American cheese. It's the most meltiest cheese I've ever made. And even better is that you don't even need to make your own cheese. Just buy cheese and make it into American cheese by adding sodium, what's it called? Not sodium carbonate, no, it's calcium. Oh, goodness me. I can't remember the name of the own ingredient that I made. Anyway, if you go to the video on American cheese, you'll see how to make it. So that's the best way. I wouldn't go to all the fuss. If you're just making cheese for burgers, then you can make it from other cheese and make it into American cheese. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. We do have another super chat there. Thank you, Jim Jackson. I appreciate it. And your little message is, greetings, Gavin and Kim. Thank you, Jim. You're a bit late to the party, mate. I don't know what's going on. Somebody said sodium citrate. There you go, sodium citrate. I can't remember my own recipe. So, yes, thank you very much to, I can't even pronounce the name, but thank you very much. Yes, sodium citrate. Everybody jumped on it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All righty. So let's just go back a little bit. Here's a good question. I can't pronounce that either. But so please, I want to ask, what is other alternative for the chemicals you use from people who live in Asian countries that don't have the chemicals? Please teach me for mozzarella. Okay, so I don't know what chemicals you're referring to. If you're talking about the starter cultures, then starter cultures are found naturally in raw milk. So if you get your hands on raw milk, then you won't have any problems. Just let it acidify for 12 hours, then start making your cheese. For mozzarella, try the quick mozzarella style. You don't need any starter cultures, and you shouldn't have too many problems there. If you're really stuck for starter cultures, if you can buy or get your hands on some cultured buttermilk, that will work, no problems at all. As a mesophilic starter culture. For a thermophilic starter culture, buy some store-bought yogurt and try that. There you go. Jordan says, good morning, everybody. COVID has hit my household. 4 out of the 7 of us tested this week. Tested positive this week. Sorry to hear you, mate. Hope everybody recovers and is well. But yeah, it's not good for anybody. Won't be any cheese making for a while, mate, unfortunately. Okay, Anna says, tasted my first raclette this week. It turned out amazing. Thanks for the advice in the message you sent me on Patreon. It worked out great. No problems at all. That's one of the perks of being a patron. You get access to my, cheese-making skills, I suppose. And, yes, I certainly do answer anybody who asks, any of the patrons or YouTube members that ask a question. They're the first ones, well, because they're forking out some dough. That's, it's only nice. And, yeah, anyway, but thank you. Okay, Driftwood says, what's your day job, Gavin? I love your channel. My day job is in conjunction with my lovely wife, Kim, who is the moderator today. We have a small business called Little Green Workshops, for those who don't know. And let's have a look. Do I have it there? Yep, there's the address, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. There you go, just there. And if you're in Australia at the moment, you can get all your cheese making gear there. That's our business. I work at home. So I am a, full-time YouTuber. I suppose you could say that as well, because YouTube is a substantial part of our income now. as well as the other 3-4 YouTube channels that I run. Mostly we get a video weekly on certainly the vlog channel, and you can check that out as well. But yeah, we pack and ship and maintain littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and we ship out all sorts of stuff, especially cheese making equipment, cheese making supplies, soap making, candle making, bath bombs, and body products. So you can go check those out there if you're really interested. But yeah, there you go. I think that's the very close to the end of the show. Let's see if there are any other questions here. Bull says, did you say you can make your own culture? I didn't say you can make your own culture, but you can use alternatives. So like I said, culture buttermilk for an aromatic mesophilic or mesophilic starter culture. That works okay. I've done it before. And a yogurt, a live yogurt for a thermophilic culture. It will make the cheese taste a little bit funny, especially if you're going to use yogurt. You'll get that yogurt tang in your cheese. I've certainly had that when I've used it myself. It's not as good as the freeze-dried cultures that you can buy. It's a bit hit and miss, but you can certainly do it. Okay, just quickly before we finish, I have a Word document here that I want to share, and I want to make it bigger than that. This is some of my thinking, and we'll go to the second screen. Hopefully this works. So this is some of my thinking. To scroll up. So these are some new cheeses that I'm going to attempt to make in 2021. So the first one is called Fig Heart, which is a small, round, fresh cheese that has fig jam encased in its center. It says it can also be filled with prunes or chestnut jam. I think I'll go with fig jam. That would be very nice. Altenburg goat's cheese is another one that I've found. I don't have a recipe for these. I'm just going to make them up as I go. So hopefully they'll be the same. Handcase or Hartzekäse. This has been requested by Albert for his father. I found a recipe in 200 Easy Cheese Recipes. It's a small hand-formed cheese made from skimmed cow's milk, so I'm going to definitely try that. Belpanol is one that I'm wanting to make. It's a firm, fresh-ish cheese covered in pepper, cracked pepper. So I'm going to get the recipe there. A mustard and ale cheese. I found a recipe for that as well. That should be interesting. Roquefort. I'm going to try and get my hands on some used milk again and make proper Roquefort or something in the style of Roquefort. And of course, as I mentioned the other day, Tête de Monde. I'm going to be trying to make one of those so I can use that on my girole. So I'm going to make a cheese myself that I can put on the girole and make the little florets from. So that should be very cool and funky. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching the show. I think Kim can't put any links up, but I'll have to get my tech man. I may just have to take you out and add you back in as a moderator there, sweetheart. Maybe that's how we'll fix it. Not sure. But that's the show for the day. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I totally appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody, especially in those COVID rampant countries that hasn't had the lockdown like we have here in Australia, where we're relatively free to walk around maskless now, just about, except if you go indoors. You, by law, you have to carry a mask with you. But, yeah, no community transmission at the moment, which is fantastic. We're not getting vaccinated until, well, vaccinations start here in Australia for healthcare workers, I think it's the end of February, and for the rest of the population, it will be March onwards. So probably won't get it until the end of the year, the way Australia, way our government's going. Anyway, anyway, enough about COVID. Let's move on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, we will see you next week. So let's get on with that. Anyway, thanks. See you later. Bye-bye.